afternoon from Los Angeles, and welcome to Stock Market Today. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at Atlassian as well as RH and Hilton. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. It's Alyssa Corum here with Ed Carson. And Ed, we did see relatively strong gains across the board. The Nasdaq up 1.1% for the day. The S&P up 0.7%. The Dow up 0.6%. So the Nasdaq especially just continuing this strong run upwards and upwards.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's not without precedent, but it's pretty close. Really strong gains. Nasdaq hitting a new high, S&P 500 hitting a new high.
Right.
It was really great because as Mike Webster was saying on IBD Live this morning, we opened lower and then built strength throughout. I mean, we basically closed at the highs of the day, just really what you want to see. Microsoft was tremendous. Google, Amazon, these trillion-dollar stocks having huge gains. Just a lot of strength across the board. So it was really positive action.
All right, and now let's take a look at a few individual names, starting off with Atlassian. The ticker there is TEAM, and that stock having a good week this week. It's approaching a 3-week tight buy point, Ed. So tell us a little bit about why this is a positive sign for Atlassian stock, because it came after a relatively big move on earnings a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, because one thing that was sort of negative about it is that the RS line was a little weak on that one. It broke out of a cup with handle base, but now it's sort of consolidated right by the left-hand side of that base. But it's consolidated with a 3-week tight, which is when the stock trades within 1 to 1.5% of the previous weeks. It can go up or down either way. This time it went up. But if it can get above that, that would be an opportunity to add a few more shares or to start a new position because it's right there, right by the base. It's just been acting well. A lot of these software leaders. It was IBD stock of the day, but it had news with Slack, sort of tangentially, because Slack got IBM as a big customer for that. And why does Atlassian care? Because Slack and Atlassian have an alliance, and Atlassian has a small stake in Slack.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it can climb over that 3-week tight buy point. But what I really liked to see was the fact that it was able to hold its gains after that earnings gap up, which is what we like to say we like to see after those earnings gap ups. So we'll keep our tabs on that one. And moving on, RH. Now, actually, if we rewind, this one did have a pretty big move on earnings and then consolidated after that. But now it's gained 5.4% today. And depending on where you're looking at it, a couple different ways to calculate the buy point here.
Yeah, it's sort of like, sometimes you say, it's going through this buy point, this is the reason to buy it, but there's sort of like a couple of things pulling on it that you can give an excuse. There is sort of a downtrend, a short-term downtrend from the high of that consolidation down through, recent high a few weeks ago, and it's sort of clearing that. It's rebounding from the 50-day, though it has done that a number of times. So those are like two sort of weakish signals working together. It's sort of like boosting the signal like a Wi-Fi kind of situation. So the two of them together work. And then it almost got to sort of like, while the buy point, it's a flat base, while the buy point conventionally is basically just above the old high, you could treat that little short-term high from a few weeks ago as an alternative entry. So that hasn't triggered yet, but there's already a buying opportunity, and it's close to another one, and there would be yet another one. And we obviously acted that with some of our stock lists today.
Right. And I think this underscores the point that reading charts really is an art, because we have those standard base patterns we look at, but also drawing those downward sloping lines and seeing rebounds off of the 50-day and then the shorter term entry. I'm just repeating everything you said. But there's so many different ways to look at it, but the more ways you can look at it, those earlier entries can give you an edge.
Yeah, you maybe build up a small position and then you wait for a more conventional entry to add a little bit more, don't get too exposed. It did get added to IBD Leaderboard and Swing Trader today, so we were definitely finding things we liked about it.
And shifting gears here, Hilton, we're keeping our eye on that one heading into its earnings report tomorrow morning. Analysts expecting earnings up 20% and a single-digit revenue growth expected at 2%. But Hilton has been on a very big run since last October. A little bit of turbulence lately, but could this be a bellwether, do you think, for what we could hear out of some of these companies related to the coronavirus.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is, because there's a lot of other hotel stocks and travel stocks that'll be coming in the following weeks. Hilton's the first real hotel stock to come out. It's been holding support at the 50-day line. It had some turbulence, as you say, but held up reasonably well, especially after an October run. This is one reason why you run screens and stuff, because I'll be honest, I wasn't quite on top of it. It's like, oh boy, they're moving, and a lot of them are moving, and this is why you got to be looking at those things, because it really was doing well, and it was a group. A group sector move, and you don't want to be missing out, because Hyatt, like Wyndham, there's others out there that that are also doing well. This is going to be interesting to see when this comes out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, no FOMO. Make sure you're screening for those stocks setting up.
That's right.
All right, everyone. That's it for today. Before we go, the conversation will continue, of course, tomorrow morning on IBD Live. That's the place where you can get all the latest in-depth analysis, trade ideas, market commentary. So make sure you check that out at investors.com/IBD Live. And we also want to let you know we do have a webinar coming up on Thursday, February 20th at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, and it's all about how to profit with the CanSlim investing system. You should definitely check that out. Go to investors.com/webinar. You can sign up now and get an email notification with the link to the webinar on that day when it's starting. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.